everybody, welcome to Wednesdays for Women, and in Wednesdays for Women, in association with freebirds.co, we get you some fighter women, and today this woman is a real fighter. We're going to listen to her story because she's got a superbly amazing story, and I'm so glad and privileged that we have with us Shanta Saikia. A very warm welcome to you, Baido. I'm privileged, I'm honored, and a hearty welcome to you.
Namaskar, Adab, Vanakkam, hello. All the greetings in all the languages to every one of your viewers over here. And it's great to be here. Really great.
Thank you so much for coming to my show because you're such a busy person because you work throughout the whole day and then you again, after all that entire day of working, you are again with me in the evening. It's really, Shantapa, thank you so much. Thank you a million times.
My pleasure.
So we'll start, Shantapa. This show is about you and the fighter spirit that you have. I loved reading your profile, and then the profile was so interesting. I'm going to read this out, but then before that, I want to ask you where you grew up, where you studied. I'm sure whoever the viewers are, they would love to listen to you and where you grew up, where you studied. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay, I'm an army kid, right? So I moved around all over the country. Mostly in Central India, West India, North India. So that has been my growing ground, so to say. And I've been exposed to a lot of culture, a lot of different places. So I guess I developed this love for travel, right from my childhood. And I studied in many different schools. You could say almost eight or nine different schools, in 12 years of schooling. So it has been a crazy time, but that has kind of, shaped my view of the world and whatever that I am today, whatever the way that I think today. So that has, shaped me into what I am today.
Okay, Shantapa, you are the editor of Adgully. You have to tell us about what this is all about so that the young people, and you are an influencer, you are an inspiration for many young people. So when they're watching you, I'm sure there are many young people who would like to go and follow you. So what is Adgully all about? You are the editor there. So what does it do? And you have been there for decades. I mean, you have been in the media for decades. So please tell us more. Yes. So how did your medium, first of all, let us start with, before we start with Adgully, I would like to ask you, why did you choose media? Was it really interesting for you that you always wanted to study media, or would you have wanted to be a sports person, or was it media which always interested you?
Communication has been my first love. I love communicating in whatever manner, whatever way that, that is possible. And, from quite a young age, I used to love ads, watching ads, and the way a story used to be communicated in that, less than 1 second, 1 minute, so to say. And so I thought that, better to be in either of these two fields, either in communication or in advertising. But of course, my father was a doctor. So definitely, there was a great expectation from me that, okay, this girl is going to be a doctor one day. But I don't really like the sight of blood that much. I was interested in medicine, but not the blood part of it and all that. Probably maybe counseling or something like that. So medicine was ruled out. And second was, to get into the field of communication. So while doing my MBA from Guwahati University, I was exposed to a wider expanse of how marketing communication is done, how brands work, how the strategies are drawn out. And this, widened my scope. And while I was doing my MBA there, I came to know about the Indian Institute of Mass Communication in Delhi. And I said, okay, that's where I want to be. And I appeared for the entrance exam, and I was the only one that particular year to be chosen from the Northeast. And I got into advertising and public relations over there. And once I joined that, there was no stopping me. I mean, it was as if like my dream world has opened up. It had opened up in front of me, and I was exposed to so much. I mean, we didn't have a very huge faculty, so to say, but there were so many people from the industry who would come and who would share their experiences, tell us how the entire advertising as well as public relations industry works, the intricacies of it, what all are involved in it, and I got more deeply involved in it, and at the end of the course, we all had to do our internships. And I got two options. One was Mudra PR, Mudra Communications, which was in Mumbai. And the other was from a magazine at that time called ANM, which stood for Advertising and Marketing. And its editor came to our institute, and he kind of, told us about what the magazine was all about, what it did. And I said, well, it combines the best of two worlds. I can communicate, and I can also report and write and edit, uh, everything to do with advertising. So I took up the latter, and I applied for A&M, and that was in 1994. And I've been in the field of journalism ever since. It just drew me, pulled me into it. And one very great thing about journalism is that you are always a perpetual student. You are learning always, because this field is evolving. There is so much to know in this field, and media works 24/7. So I work 24/7, and it's been a wonderful journey. I've seen my ups and downs. I've been on continuous night shifts for, I think, probably 4 or 5 years. It takes a toll on your health, yes. Uh, you are always sleepy, you're always hungry, you're always kind of hung over a bit. Uh, but at the end of the day, when you look back, there is so much that you've gained out of this field, and that has always been a high. That has always given me the kick, and there is still so much to learn. Yes, I mentor youngsters today, but there is so much to learn from the youngsters also, because today's generation, the kids who come in for us, to work with us, to intern with us, they are very digital savvy, and digital is a field that I'm getting to learn a lot from them, you know, and I'm still at a learning stage. It's always been a learning stage, and so this kind of communication that you get to do, it's been wonderful actually. You have to love what you do, and you have to have a passion. I've been mostly a desk person, desk editor, so we are the non-glamorous one. We are the ones who keep the wheels churning at the back. You're never seen. The reporters, the correspondents, they are the glamour ones. They're always at the forefront. They get to see their bylines and all that. And we are the ones whose work actually starts after the reporters give us the stories, which means that, say, the reporter files the story at 9 p.m. So my work starts from 9 p.m. and it can go into any which day. Early on, when I used to work in newspapers, of course, we had a deadline. Everything had to go to the press. So it's so much of hustle bustle, like the world would go off to sleep at probably, say, midnight, and our flow would be like bustling with energy, shouting, go get the transparencies, arrange, go press bhejna, go there, ye karo, wo karo. And that bustle, that energy has always been a high. Because last minute, oh, this breaking news has come, chalo isko hatao, let's put this. Oh, where I think we'll have to cut off 4 lines from here. We used to work with transparencies earlier. Nowadays, everything is digital. So, cut off 4 lines from the bottom because, last minute ad has come in and you have to accommodate that ad. So it's been wonderful. It's been really, really wonderful, And, for all the youngsters, whoever are watching today, it's a field which really demands a lot out of you. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's definitely not for like, oh, I'll be working here for some time and then, I'll be famous. You are not like TV journalists. Not everyone can turn out to be a TV journalist. By the way, it's only the anchors, who are the glamour persons, the ones who are out in the field. I've interacted with them, during COVID times, and it's really horrible for them, with masks. sweating, especially in a place like Delhi, in 48 degrees heat. They're chasing stories. They're being chased out from the containment zones. And we've interacted a lot with them and try to find out, how is it like to be a reporter in COVID times. And they said that it takes a great toll on your mental health. First, it strikes you in mental health, like you are trying to make sense of it. People are looking up to them to give them information, and they themselves are clueless. And it's been a very, very, very tough time for media people. And I think we are just trying to emerge out of it. A lot of uh, you know uh, challenging times have come up. There are editions of, especially the print media has been really hit. Quite a few editions, quite a few newspapers, magazines have shut down during this time. People have lost their jobs. They've been, one fine day they're coming to work, and next day they're being asked to leave. There have been salary cuts. Uh, so yes, these are challenging times. We have seen this earlier during the dot-com burst. We have seen this earlier during the demonetization times, during the economic slowdown times. You know, uh, so we have literally seen uh, the growth of India, the evolution of India, uh, whatever events, changes, developments have come in, you have a front seat view to it, and you have to absorb it. You have to be like a sponge, dry sponge at that, you have to absorb, filter out, and then, retain whatever is really makes sense. And then you have to analyze it also. It's not like, blind reportage. You saw something happen, you put there, copy pasted a quote over there, and that, no, because you have to make sense of whatever news that you have in front of you. And that is where, your learning comes in. You have to be very, very observant, read in between lines. And it's that's why I said it takes a great toll on you. Sometimes you forget to eat. You don't get time to eat. Strapped to your seat. I mean, you can't even rush to the loo at that time because something important is happening at that point in time. So uh, you have to be very prepared for this. This is not a glamour field. Leave the glamour for, I guess, the entertainment business. But apart from that, you have to be really, really vigilant. You have to be very curious, extremely curious. Be like a sponge, adapt, absorb, learn. You have to do all this. A little word about Adgully. I joined Adgully January 2016, right? Um, we are a news portal, and we are completely into business journalism. I have been actually a business journalist throughout my career, and so we cover a lot of news about the media industry. Uh, we cover about brands, marketing strategies, communication, digital. Uh, in fact, I was very tied up, just before this call. I was very tied up with, we are having our own conference called ScreenX. This is for the digital entertainment industry. And if anyone is interested in, looking into the minds of the top guys in the digital content consumption business today, be it Netflix, be it Z5, be it Eros Now. Uh, there are a whole host of actors who you see in various OTT shows. So we have 5, 6 panel discussions. We have fireside chats over there, and uh, it's free. You could visit www.adgully.com, and on top of
Okay.
the banner, you have ScreenX, and you can log in there. You can register. It's on 1st of October, and so here, I switched to digital media, online media in the year 2000,
Okay.
right? So it was with timesofindia.com. And that was a very new, very, very nascent field at that time. People were, trying to know what is happening, how internet works. A lot of us didn't even know how to operate email. Today it's like baएं हाथ का खेल, right? We've moved on to so much beyond emails and all. But that time, we had to rush to the tech guy and said, I want to send an email, and they would kind of, tutor us and all. So I've seen the dot-com revolution start from that stage. The days of Hotmail and Sabir Bhatia of that time, and it's been a very interesting development and evolution that I've seen, throughout the years. um, I've grown, literally grown with this. Print has been a very old industry in India, but digital is something, which is still evolving, and you don't know next where it is going to land up. There are algorithms, there is artificial intelligence happening here. There is so much of assimilation happening. There's so much of technology coming in. Now you have bots, you have robots, who churn out copies, who write copies, right? But within that, how you keep your skill levels alive. It's always upskilling yourself, always staying one step ahead, and that's what digital media is all about. And I'm loving every moment of it.
Lovely.
Never done.
Shantapa, I didn't tell you one thing. I was involved with Hindustan Times. This was, I think, in the year 2000. And I was working, I just got in as a stringer. And
Mhm.
then I was very interested in communication, like you said that,
Mhm.
you were very interested in communication. And though I was, I've always been a mass comm student, and
Mhm.
I've been acting, I've been doing dramatics and all those kind of things. But then in 2000, I said, okay, somebody offered me, they said that why don't you try yourself, because you've been writing a lot. Why don't you try Hindustan Times? So I did, but what happened? Here is the bad news. I always wanted to be in, and you being an editor, I have to tell this to you. So while I was working as a stringer, there were these, it was an all men's office. I was the
Mhm.
only woman who was there. So, they kind of, I don't know, they were harassing me to leave the office. So my life at Hindustan Times was very short lived. Even though I had complained to the Kolkata office and all, nothing happened. So that Me Too thing happened because they used to put up half nude pictures of women on
Mhm.
my desktop. Every time I come back the next day, the same thing would appear, and I would always complain that why are you doing? Whoever is doing this is not nice.
Mhm.
I have come here to do my news. I've not come here to, so all these things I think happen. But I'm so glad to hear that you've had a fantastic time. I think you are the tough nut, like you say. Like me. I think both of us bash up people because when they do anything wrong on the road and all. I am somebody who's already always bashed up people. I think you've done that too. So, but we can't bash up people in an office. So I had to leave. So one year I was very sad that my life at Hindustan Times was so short lived, and because I wanted to continue with journalism, and I wanted to become maybe somebody significant in media, but then that didn't happen. So and then after that, I really didn't try anywhere else. So that is one thing. The other thing that you said about yeah, about people being dropped out of different media houses. One place I used to be very close with was Ananda Bajar Patrika and with the Telegraph Group. I used to be associated with them in their infotainment, where they have this, their events in different places. They used to have it in Bangladesh, in different places in India. So I used to be the anchor, and I used to be part of their thing. And their CEO had chosen me from Guwahati to kind of be a part of their show. So from 2005, I think, right up to this last year, for around 15 years, I have been with this group, and they have been really, really wonderful. Fantastic group. There was one lady who was leading that event house, so that is why I have been always kept safely. And every time I travel with them, I feel very safe. So one group I was very happy to work with was Anand Bajar Patrika. So really wonderful. So let me ask you, since you've been in media for so long,
Mhm.
now that we see this slew of fake news, which is kind
Yes.
of harassing us every day. What do
True.
we believe? What we don't believe? It's like sometimes we see that the media houses are coming up with fake news. Sometimes you wonder whether we watch the news or not. And for the past 2 years, I've simply not been watching the news. I rely on Twitter or I
Hmm.
rely on some e-portals like yours
Hmm.
so to get some authentic news. So how bad is this for the country's future, Baidu?
Fake news is really, really a bone of contention, and I mean, we've been focusing on it a lot, and how the terrible consequences of it. And it's media houses, it's a lot of social media also, that has been uh, kind of promoting fake news. And something that we've been trying to bring focus, put a lot of spotlight on is toxic news. You cannot watch TV debates these days. It's like a war battleground. It's like fighting, 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 and at the
Mm.
end of it, you don't see any conclusions happening. And fake news is something, unless and until we get regulatory aspects of it, because right now media is under self-regulatory code. And we had been looking at TRI, that is Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, to come up with at least some norms, some regulations for the digital media, specifically digital media, because for television news and all, there is a self-regulatory code, and the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting definitely monitors it. If someone has some complaints against it, there are certain forums, where they can go, they can complain against it. But when it comes to digital media and the spread of fake news there, and it's extremely widespread, by the way, right? And it's still not been brought under control, right? Uh, we need stronger regulations, which have still not happened yet. We were looking at, like I was saying, try to bring in those regulations, but they have kind of skirted this issue for the time being. Recently, they came out with certain guidelines and all. They said that at the time being, let digital media not be touched. All right, we are still observing, we are still studying this media, and we we feel that let them keep regulating in their own manner, right? But let's leave them out of the purview of it. So that is not a solution to it. That is not the solution to it. For instance, if you see certain platforms, they uh, a very prominent social media platform has been very much on the news for hate news, right? For politically motivating voters and all that. Uh, that again, these need to be highlighted, and there are forums like, for instance, Screenix and all. We are going to highlight this, but that is not enough. We have to have certain regulatory codes from the government. There needs to be. For instance, like for advertising and all, recently we had the Consumer Protection Act, right? And the Consumer Affairs Ministry, the department, they came out with certain directives. For instance, if an ad is misleading, right, make some false claims, exaggerated claims. So what happens is there are rules that govern it. For instance, they either will end up paying a hefty fine for it, or they will even be imprisoned. And this spans the entire spectrum. For instance, it's everyone involved in that particular campaign, misleading campaign, will be pulled up. Number one, the brand whose communication is giving out some misleading information. Number two, the advertising agency that has created that particular ad, right? Number three, the platform or platforms on which that ad has been displayed, right? Number four, if it involves an endorser, say an actor or a cricketer, has appeared as a brand ambassador in that particular campaign, so that endorser will also be held an equal party in that misleading communication, and they can face uh, fines of up to 10 lakhs, and imprisonment also. Imprisonment can vary from 3 months to 5 years, right? Uh, so we have seen the government taking steps, and this is going to clean up the system, because this kind of cleanup is required. Same thing happens for fake news, because it is, in a misleading ad, you get a communication which might be provoking you, which might be, giving you some wrong information. For But when it comes to fake news, it can end up taking someone's life, right? We all remember Neil Abhi, right?
Yes, yes.
We remember that case. We remember so many other cases of lynching, so many, you know, other harassments happening, right?
True.
And this needs to be addressed. This has to be taken up from the government's end, and it has to be taken to its logical conclusion.
But I don't know why the government is not taking a stand, because
Exactly.
daily we find so many fake news coming out and so many
Hmm.
things are happening. I think the government, if they don't take a stand, I feel that my country in the future is not is something that I'm going to look forward to, because every day there's a slew of fake news which is being manufactured, God knows
Yes.
where, and then they are just doling it out and people are believing it.
Exactly.
Many a times when I was in Rotary, I've noticed that elderly women, they pass on to our WhatsApp groups, to our
Hmm.
Rotary WhatsApp groups, they pass on things, and then we question, where did you get this? And
Hmm.
if we don't question, we as young people, we don't question that, where did you get this piece of news from? And then she's very embarrassed. She says, no, I think I just got it and I forwarded it. So
Hmm.
there
Hmm.
are these elderly people who are doing it and without even looking at it. There is just, and all these
They're
things happen.
forwarding it. Yeah.
Yes,
Without realizing the implications of it. So there has to be, uh, some education that needs to
yes,
go out. Probably we can, inform the elders in the family, like why it is so dangerous to pass on anything and everything that comes to their WhatsApp. What government has been trying to do is it's pulling a WhatsApp, right? Your admin needs to control whatever people are posting on that, right?
yes.
But yes, to some extent, the platform on which these kind of informations are placed, they are responsible. Probably they can have filters in place and all, but there has to be some push from the government. Unless they won't do it, there is hate speech so much in social media. There is so heavy trolling happening everywhere, and that is nothing but an adult version of cyberbullying, right? You
Yes,
are completely trying to dominate someone and kind of pressurize them into submission, and this is a very serious matter, and that needs to be addressed, because anyone you know anyone that says things which is against their beliefs means ये तो मेरा दुश्मन है, इसको खत्म करो यहीं पे like दबाओ इसको, right? So
yes.
that needs to be controlled, definitely. To some extent, yes, the platform on which such messages go on, if there is a kind of a filter, if the admin is very very active, they will either filter it out or they will delete it immediately. But it shouldn't be a step that they take only when there is a lot of hue and cry over it. It's being reported everywhere, and they're being pulled up. They are being called names. They're calling for all these hashtag things happening.
Yes.
Boycott this, boycott that, and all that. After that you start taking or think of taking some steps. It should always be proactive, not after an incident has happened and then you are taking some steps. That defeats the purpose. That
I
defeats
think,
the purpose.
Baido, there's one thing which I would like to say. When you say the government has to take some action, at the same time, I feel that, young people are taking a stand. I have noticed a lot of young people who say, in fact, they are the ones who come up with campaigns by saying that
Hmm,
don't forward this and don't forward that.
hmm,
More than people like us, it's the
hmm,
younger generation, people younger to me, they are taking this effort. And I think I am very hopeful of my young generation that they are actually going to take care of this country, because I feel we have lost them somewhere. We have failed them somewhere. We have kind of failed in our actions and our inactions towards them. And I think it's they who are actually going to take care of the country. So, somewhat, I feel that, because I'll tell you, when we look at certain channels where there is no other discussion but on religion, and there is no other discussion but about drugs, about Sushant Rajput's
hmm,
death, about all these things. My young son, who is just 14, he says, he asks me these questions. So I'm sure his group of people will also ask the same sort of questions. He's 14 and he asked me, why do you people look at news which is full of Hindu, Muslim, religious, and communal things? Why can't India discuss about space research? Why can't we talk about research per se? Why can't we talk about these sort of things instead of you people are talking about mandir, masjid? What is this? What are you going to leave for us in the future? This is his question. This is such a major, major question that a young boy is asking. And I have no answers because I don't know what to do, by the way. This is seriously a question. I'm very worried what is going to happen. Because
Exactly.
right now, if you notice, as a person, as an honorable editor of Adgully, you have been in this trade for so long. Right now, none of the channels, I mean, apart from a couple of them, you can count them in your hands, none of them are talking about the economy, the GDP. Nobody is talking about about unemployment, about what's happening to the small industries that have gone kaput. Nobody is talking about all those things. But we are talking about things which are not even important for the country.
Exactly.
Like Kangana
You know, this
Ranaut's house has been just
exactly.
snatched this month.
She gets more airtime than the real issues of India. That's been the tragedy of it, because if you speak to any of these editors, of the news channels and all today, they would say this is what people of India want to watch. They dictate and they decide for themselves that this is what people of India want to watch, and that is what they will air. TRPs, you're aware of, right? Every time they say, okay, TRPs. Every Thursday, there is this organization called BARC, all right, Broadcast Audience Council of India. So BARC, what is BARC? So what it does is it brings out the television ratings for every possible genre in India. Eh? And then we start getting calls, hey, our channel secured this much of GRPs, TVRs, TRPs in this particular week, in this particular time band. They will say we are number one, we are this, we are that. That is something which is scary, because they will consider this as what Indians are watching, and they will only play that kind of news. They will only air those news over and over again. For instance, Doklam was happening. Galwan, our soldiers were being killed over there, butchered over there, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And all people wanted to know was, did Riya Chakravarti give drugs to SSR, or did she consume drugs, on her own?
Herself.
I mean,
Yes.
what that is news of national importance. Yes, I would definitely want to know how this poor actor died. But
True.
okay, now no one is even asking like how this poor chap died, right?
Nobody is
It's going into ki, acha, next big name kaun reveal hoga? Will Salman Khan's name be taken here with some other actor's name? And every time NCV gives out these leaks, all right, sources
yes.
from this thing saying that Deepika Padukone cried 3 or 4 times during her questioning and all that. How does it matter to a reader? How does it matter to a viewer of news who wants to know that will the onion prices ever come down,
Yes.
right? With the entire piggery industry in Assam, that is facing closure. There are so many of these small piggery farmers who are being wiped out, and nothing
Yes.
is being done. Nothing is being done to compensate them. On the one hand, government says we have to promote youngsters, we have to promote entrepreneurship, we have to, encourage the youngsters to, because Assam doesn't have big industries, it doesn't have big companies, organizations, agencies that can employ people in bulk, right? So youngsters should come forward and do something on their own. They are trying to do something on their own. And because of the African swine fever, the entire, the pig farms are getting wiped out. But what is the government doing about it? They're nothing on. It's a double standard that is nowhere highlighted. Unfortunately, that is nowhere highlighted. I've been trying to, watch news over here, local news over here, and they use a word My Assamese is really bad. I'm ashamed about it. So they use a word called sansalya, sensationalization, right?
Sansoilo. Sansoilo.
Yes, yes, exactly. So
Sensational. Sensation.
sensational, right? So every news is that, you know, just like, in the beginning times, Ashtak used to, for every other news, Ashtak, afra tafri, So they will coin certain words. Afra tafri is chaos, right? Uh, Frenzy, chaos. And this is one word, like everything for them is the word you said, right? Sensationalization. And
Sansoilo.
unfortunately, that is what is being poured down people's throat as news in the name of news, right? Why can't we have decent conversations? Why can't we get the right people here rather than people with very loud vocal cords, you know, shouting matches? I mean, I don't get anything out of it. I don't get anything out of it.
No, and by the
That
way, you
that
know what
that is a
happens?
tragedy. Right?
That is, you know what happens, this percolates down to the young people. I'm always very concerned about what we are portraying to the young people, because
Mm,
our behavior, they are going to emulate this, they are going to
mm,
copy us, they are going to actually copy and paste it exactly in the same manner in the future. So if we are going to give them media like this, where they're shouting out people, saying that you are a Bangladeshi, you are this and you are that, on camera, on record. So how does that leave us, with a respectable society in the future? How will our young people talk to each other if we have a conversation like this on television, where we are fighting and mudslinging and doing all kinds of,
mm,
all kinds of things, all kinds of antics, but
mm.
news. We are not doing news, but we're doing all kinds of antics. What do you say about this, Ben?
So that's it. That is the tragedy, actually. That is the tragedy. What we are seeing in a whole lot of media platforms today, you know, and what we are leaving as legacy for the next generation. That is a cause of worry. How do you tell them? How are you going to tell them what to filter out? Whatever that you're watching, it's not the truth. It's not the be all and end all. Just because it's there on a TV news channel, just because it's there on a newspaper, there are so many biases, there are so many other obligations that come into play. you know there are certain newspapers, publications, who won't publish a negative news about a particular company because they are a major investor into it, or they probably release too many ads. It's a barter system there. you know that is something which needs to be taught to our youngsters, that you have to filter out. It's not the be just because it's there, you're seeing it on the screen. It's not necessarily the whole truth, the whole truth. And yes, like you said, rightly said, our generation has failed the younger ones. you know and they are left to fend for themselves, because in
Yes.
a case, in a space like a vacuum emerging, right? So they will try and find out news from their own sources, whether right or wrong, right? And they may or may not get influenced by it, but for them it would be probably a more credible source of getting news and information, rather than what they see on the screen, to which they can't relate at all. They can't relate at all. And we as parents, we have also failed to guide them in a proper way a lot of times, and especially, and this is something that we have been reporting on, we have been talking about in the industry a lot, the effect of work from home. Earlier on, people would go to offices, work, they come back, there was a clear divide. Now that divide is gone. Right? The child might want his or her parents' attention, but the parent, they've got a webinar to attend, yeah, or they are just fulfilling some deadline, because again, there is no boundary there between work and life. The balance is completely getting, completely awry. And there again, how are you taking care of your child here? Earlier on, you could at least devote some time because there was this clear divide between your work life and your, uh, private life. But now that is disappearing. And this is again another fear, which I'm petrified to think about. They are left to fend on their own. You don't know what kind of information they're getting because you are not there all the time to tell them that, see, this is not right, or explain things. And on top of it, you have toxic media or toxic news, so to say, which is further, creating so much of confusion. They're so scared, like this entire COVID situation, it scares us seniors, right? Look at a child, how will you explain that whatever once, the child took for granted so much, going out in the playground and, playing there, meeting with his friends, just going out for a cycle ride, and they can't do it anymore. They have to be confined at home. How do you uh, normalize this situation for them and allay their fears? I'm worried to think about the generation that is coming out of this COVID crisis. Really, past 6 7 months has changed so much for so many of us. This
Yes,
is a
Shantapa, and
scary thing.
I have noticed that instead of being out, they would be having their virtual classes. After
Hmm.
some time, they'll be having their exams. So
Hmm.
they have no life outside now. Now their life is
Hmm.
it's become the normal. The new normal is that they are sitting in front of their screen. They are exposed to so much of screen time, and that I'm very worried. Sometimes I say, "Do you? How many classes do you have?" He says three
Hmm.
classes, and then in the
Hmm.
second half I have some more classes. And I'm saying, my
Hmm.
God, this is like what? How much time will you be in front of in the laptop? This is not right for your eyes and for everything. It's not right for
Everything.
you. So, but then they can't help it. Poor things, they can't help it. So,
Exactly.
right? So, children are going through a tough time, just like us during this COVID
I
period.
think they are the most vulnerable victims, so to say, of this
Mhm.
entire COVID crisis. Like we can, in some way, come to terms with it. But for them, they're just starting their lives and they're thinking, will things remain this way only forever? They are scared. On the one hand, we put the fear in them that, COVID is there, don't go out, put on your mask, you cannot step outside, you can't go for, doing all the things that they've loved doing so far in their very short lives. But on top of it, the fear of infection, on top of it getting news like so many people know, so many new infections, so many people have died, a lack of oxygen cylinders in India, right? India become, climbing on to the number two spot in number of infections, right? So all this has, made them even more vulnerable. They have tons of questions. They don't know whom to ask. We are so tied up with our work that we also can't spare that kind of time to sit down, explain to them, probably on a Sunday, yes, right? But is that enough? Is that enough? We probably are turning into weekend parents for them. I know, because of work life.
Yes.
That's scary. That's scary. I really, because for them, the virtual becomes the new life. And you wonder, like when they actually go out to the real world, how much will they be equipped to face it? How much will they really be equipped to face it? All the disappointments that come with it, all the challenges that come with it, all the rejections that come with life. That's life. That's life is messy. Life is tough. But are we equipping the kids, the younger generation, to face it? The way we were taught by our parents. Uh, I don't know. I mean, what kind of parents our generation is really. I think we have got the worst end of both the stick.
I remember when while you're saying that, you were brought up in a different way. I was brought up in a different way. My mother, I remember she used to tell me that, this is something that I'm going on record and saying. I've never said this before. She would always tell me that if someone slaps you, I mean, this is not a literal thing she's saying. She's saying that if someone slaps you, slap that person 10 times and then ask him or her, why did you slap me the first time? So I grew up with teachings like that. So because I was the only child, I was taught how to be tough and, fend for myself, fight for anything that comes ahead. So even if I see there's somebody who touches me on the road, I go and bash him up. So I have grown up like that. So I've grown up alone. But for my son now, I understand that he needs so much support mentally. Then he needs that support. He needs a lot of support, emotional support. And these are things that we have to look in, because as a mother, I have to understand that it's not the same thing when I was growing up during
Exactly.
my Walkman and my tape days and
Hmm.
all those things. Not those. It's not the 1980s
Hmm.
anymore. It's not the 80s and 90s. So we are, in a totally different period right now.
Hmm.
So I think we have to, kind of be different parents. But let's get a little bit more jovial about your things. I have been reading. I've been reading about your profile, Shanta Baido, and you are an amazing, amazing person. Not to talk about your being an editor in this business news portal Adgully, but you have written something beautiful. You love traveling. You deeply immerse yourself in the local culture, history, cuisine, and people. You are a very positive person, and we'll talk how. Vocal about things and issues, and you're very passionate about. You're very vocal about issues that you're passionate about. And if you get the opportunity and funding, you say that you would love to build a repository of indigenous flora, grains, culture, languages, cuisine, tribes, and costumes. Everything about Assam and the Northeast, and preserve it for future generations. How beautiful is that? I mean, please tell us about this dream of yours. This is something, when I read it, I was feeling, wow, this looks so good. This is a beautiful dream that Shanta Baido has.
This stems from the fact that, being an army kid, I've always stayed away from Assam. My father has always been posted outside. And I got a great exposure to the culture, the traditions, the thinking, the attitudes of people from the rest of India. And whatever exposure that I got to Assamese culture, food, and all, uh, I got it from my parents, right? So whatever my parents could teach me, could tell me about Assam, I saw it through their eyes. I got to learn about it from them. uh, First-hand experience, I didn't have too much apart from the time, when I used to come here for my summer vacations and all. And which would be hardly for about a month or so. And then we'll go back to wherever, my father was posted. So I felt that, and when I came here, I did my graduation from here from Cotton College, and after that, again, I went back to Delhi, and I was in Delhi till end of 2015, and then I came back here because of my mom's ill health actually, and then I decided to stay here and work from home. And by the time, the work from home scene was possible for me. Otherwise, before that, I had to go to office, travel to office daily, and working from home was not really an option. So once I got that option, I shifted over here, and then I got exposed to so much, got to know about my state, people. Like I said, my Assamese was really terrible because I was speaking in whatever place that we were
All the
posted in,
different
the
languages.
local.
Yes.
Exactly, because none of my friends were Assamese. I didn't have a single Assamese friend. And so college was there, but that time again, I was in a very angry mood when I was in college, okay? Because my best friend, she had joined MCM College in Chandigarh, and she was very keen that, I join her and we would study there, do our graduation from there. But my father said that, Cotton College is such an old college, such an august institution. Your cousins and all have studied from here. So many great people have come out of this. So why do you want to go all the way to Chandigarh and study there? Study here. So first year I was furious. I refused to talk to anyone. And I was like this. Everyone would say that, oh my God, stay away from this person. Otherwise, she's really going to bash you up and all that. And but second year onwards, I got more involved with the students, with whatever was happening around me. So that was almost like not a very happy kind of an association or getting to know my culture period over there. But 2015, I guess, end of 2015, 2016, I was more open, to really know what my state is all about, what the issues are, how the people are. And the more I got to know about it, um, in partly I was very interested, very intrigued, and partly I was disappointed, because so much of the outside culture that I had kind of left behind has seeped into here, and it's kind of a very diluted kind of a scenario that I found myself in. And but the more, say, I would travel towards, say, my father's village, upper Assam side and all. So I would somehow find, maybe people are more close to what the real Assamese culture is, or whatever, my memories were from my childhood, of a time, a culture that was there at that point in time. And this is something, which I really want to preserve. There are so many, local indigenous grains that are disappearing. So many varieties of rice that you no longer find. And why should that be? Why don't preserve it? Why not bring it back? And one thing that really hurt me was to know about our silk, some silk, part, muga, eri. Uh, that why should we have to get silk from Bangalore or even from China? God help us, to make our traditional costumes, right? We have it right here. Why not, bring it back to a scale? For instance, like I was very, very, I don't know whether you've heard about his name, J. J. Valaya,
Yes, yes, of course.
design,
This great
right?
fashion design. Yes.
Absolutely. Now, why I'm naming him here, he was, I think, the one person who was responsible for bringing back Zardozi embroidery, form of embroidery from extinction. He did it on his own. Probably, I think, just 3 or 4 families were left, you know, who actually did this. But because they didn't get any returns, so they didn't want their new generation to pick it up. He funded them, he learned the skill, he got more people to learn it from them, and he revived it. Today, Zardozi is very much part of her bride's kutu, whatever her bridal trousseau is, and it's very much a part of that. So why not our indigenous silk? This is something we need to patent, before an American or before even China comes and claims that, everything they see from India, they want it, ye hamara hai. So before they do it, this is so much a part of our culture, our tradition. We need to preserve it. We need to safeguard it, and we need to revive it. That sericulture has always been a dream, for past so many years. I have accumulated a lot of information about it. I want to train myself in it also. And hopefully, God willing, one day I think I'll do that. I'll
I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I'm going to pray to God that this happens for you. This dream actually comes true for you,
actually,
because it's going to be a treasure house for Assam. If you come up with a
absolutely,
repository like this, it's going to be a treasure for Assam, because and it's going to be like a museum if you're going to have all these things there. Now,
absolutely.
Baidu, there's
Hmm.
something very interesting you said in your profile. Whenever you're faced with challenges or
Hmm.
doubts, you turn to your favorite lines by poet Dylan
Yes.
Thomas. It says, "Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the
Yes.
dying of the light." What a wonderful poem. This is something that I'm going to keep close to my heart as well. It's so inspirational. It's very, very
It is.
inspirational. Please,
It
please
is.
tell us more about this. I mean, at least.
Right. These lines have been like a guiding light for me. If in the darkest phases of my life, and uh, you were aware of it. Probably our viewers are not. I met with an accident in 2007, and 2007 was really a very tough, very terrible year for us. My family. My father passed away in February 2007. A month later, I met with an accident in Delhi, and I lost my right leg in that. Uh, but what actually helped me, number one, later on when people said, how I was able to emerge out of it was acceptance. First and foremost, without, and instead of staying in denial, I accepted that, yeah, I'm going to lose my right leg, right? So once you accept it, you think, what next? And that what next keeps you so busy that you don't have to, sit and mourn over what you've lost, because what you've lost, it's gone. You there are things that you can't bring back. And I've always believed in the movement of time. समय का पहिया हमेशा आगे बढ़ता है. It always moves forward, and there is no way out but to move forward along with time. And that is how, you need to keep yourself motivated. You need to keep yourself moving ahead. And one more thing I realized, I mean, I was lying in the hospital bed for 2 months, and you get a lot of time to think about. And that we have only one life. I got a second shot at life, right? So the day of my accident, I celebrate as my second birthday with all kind of show, okay, balloons and cake and candles and everything. But not everyone gets a second shot at life. Right? We just have one life, one shot at life, and you give it your best. Kya hoga? At the end of it, all of us are anyway going to die. Are before dying, live na. Live, fight, love. You have failed at something. Pick yourself up and go. Learn from kids. What do they do when they fall down? They don't go, oh my God, did someone see me fall down? I'm feeling so embarrassed. They don't think that. They don't brush their clothes and they're off their way, right? So we need to, learn from kids, of that, because this is just one life we have. It doesn't matter if you fail at something, okay, there's always another chance. You give yourself another chance, and no one has got the right to take that second chance from you. You are giving it to yourself. So who is there? Who is the best friend that you've got? It's you yourself. If you think that, oh, Mr. XYZ, Miss ABC, they are my best friends, and if they are with me, I find so much of solace, I find so much of courage. But then you are handing over a part of your happiness, a part of your being in another person's hand. And that cannot always be the good thing for you, because that person may not always be there for you. They might also have their own compulsions. And if they are not with you, and you have that kind of expectations from them, then you are hurt that, oh, in my toughest time, they were not there. But you were there now with yourself. So why didn't you help yourself out? Why are you giving up? Yeah, I mean, one day, one fine day, whatever age you are in, you can be crossing a century, but you are going to die. Right? That is the ultimate and final truth in everyone's life. Everyone will be in that same boat, and they'll be gone. But before that, don't give up on yourself. You don't never ever give up on yourself, because you are your own best advertiser. You are your own best friend. You are your own best company. So why don't you be your own best self? You always want to be with good people. You always want to be with great people because they inspire you. So why don't you also become a person that you're looking at someone else to be for you? Why don't you be that for yourself? And like you said, life is messy. Hoga, messy doesn't matter. You always go, you clean yourself up later. But at that very moment, you live. Don't forget to live. And don't forget to breathe. There are a lot of times we breathe very shallow, we end up with a tingling headache. So don't forget to breathe, don't forget to live. Because time is moving forward, so there is always something to look forward to. Good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. At the most, you can prepare yourself, but you don't have any control over that. Next moment, what will happen? You don't have any control. When you don't have control, so just move, be cautious, but don't just give up on yourself. And this is what I keep telling everyone. कि अरे नहीं हुआ इस बार ना कोई बात नहीं, just try again ना बाबा. Are you dead that you can't try again? You're, as long as you're alive, you have every right to give yourself second chances. Go ahead, fight for it. And that is where, my energy comes from. Because earlier on, yes, I used to wonder, like during my teen years, I used to be very conscious, the way I used to look, how people would think about me. Now I said, ki, Are, I am like my best friend, so I have to stand by me. कोई कुछ भी बोले, it doesn't matter. Okay, fine. You are saying that. I might also say one or two bad words about you, but forget it. At the end of the day, what does it matter? We are two parallel lines. We've just crossed over, and we're gone. And I remember writing all the novels. I was inspired by some James Hadley Chase novels. And I remember writing somewhere. I don't know why I'm recalling it. I'm not a poet, okay? I can't write to save my life. Poetry, that is. I'd written, yeah. Memories are all we leave behind that whisper to the wind of a light that flashed briefly at midnight and disappeared forever.
Wow.
So leave good memories behind. Like you don't have to be good for just goodness sake, but just be true to yourself, be who you are, and just get on with your life. People will remember you for your genuineness. At the end of the day, that is what people remember the most. Once it's like uh, my father's various postings, took me to so many places. I met so many people. uh, we met at a certain station, then probably that person's parents got posted out, or my father got posted out, and we never met really, because that was not the time of internet. That was not a time of emails and all that. All we had was APO services, that's an Army Postal Service, right? There was 156 APO and there was 199 APO, and that letter would kind of follow you around wherever your father was posted. And so it was very difficult to stay in touch during those times. But we remembered that person for, the fun times that we had, the good times that we had. We don't remember the fights that we had. We might be cutty for days. Tell cutty, nahi baat karti. I'm not going to talk to you forever. But the forever would last probably for just 2 days, and after that, we were back to. So we, what changes in us when we grow up? Why can't we end that cutty phase where we uh, sometimes we fight with others? Yes, it happens. But why does that uh, that have to carry over for so many days, periods, ages? you know uh, Whatever time that you could have spent in and create so many good memories, you just wasted your time away in hatred. What did you achieve out of it? Laddu, anda mila uske end mein. You didn't get anything out of it. So that's why, always remember. I think I tell everyone, always remember कि you have one shot at life, ठीक है? तो उस shot at life में जो करने का है, अच्छा करने का है, you know, because we all generally are good people. We want to do good things in life. We want to be remembered for good things. So why are you getting so much of negativity? Life में ऐसे problems come है that you are attracting so much of negativity. Be a magnet for attracting good things, and good things will happen, right? Only they may not be what you expected. You might be expecting Prince Charming, but you might be getting the Mr. Right for you.
Yes,
So
yes.
so that's why, be positive. That's where my positivity stems from. I know that I've got one shot in life. I was lucky to have got a second shot at life. I'm not going to spend it in any kind of negative thoughts. No way. I had, if someone negative comes here, I would rather cloak that person in positivity and send that person back. But I'm not going to absorb, not going to be a magnet, or not going to be a sponge to absorb the negativity. It's not worth it. If someone is that way down in it, then there's no need for that person in your life. There are so many others who can, bring so much of light, so much. No one wants to stay in a dark corner. Does anyone want? नहीं ना punishment मिलता है तो you are in a dark corner. Otherwise, no one wants to stay in a dark corner. So why do you want to stay with a toxic, with toxic people, like all that? right? If you try, if they don't, okay, fine. I mean, they have got their own life. They've got their own thoughts. If they are happy to wallow, marinate in their kind of fitting existence, let them. You move on. You, like what I say, तूने किसी का ठेका नहीं दे रखा है. You're not taking the responsibility of, uh, you know, kind of सुधारो someone. ये इसको सुधारते हैं, इसको अच्छा करते हैं. नहीं नहीं बाबा, because see, you wouldn't want anyone to sudharo you, right? You wouldn't want anyone to change you, because you are, like I say, I'm a sum total of my existence, my experiences, my interactions. Every person that has touched my life at certain point in time, and everyone has brought in so much. And here, I think I have to mention two people. I don't know their names, right? I met them only once in my life, but what they have done for me, they're complete strangers, okay? But what they have done for me, and I pray for them every day. One person was, I had gone to Dehradun. I was in Delhi, based in Delhi at that time. I had gone to Dehradun uh, to my friend's place. And while returning, it got pretty late. The bus, I took a bus back, and it was like 10:30 in the night. And Delhi, it can be scary place, right? 10:30 in the night, I was looking for an auto rickshaw, and they were charging like exorbitant rates. And that time I had just joined my job, in between jobs actually. And I said, कि नहीं नहीं भैया बहुत ज़्यादा कर रहे हो, I don't want to. And I was looking for a bus. And I had absolutely no idea where I was. I saw a bus stop, walked up to there, and I kept on asking, कि भैया आप एम्स एम्स जाओगे ऑल इंडिया इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मेडिकल साइंसेस. From there I knew where my place was. And I kept on asking, and there was one bus, and they said, nahi, 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 ye nahi jati. This bus doesn't go there. None of the auto rickshaws stopped. So then one guy came forward and he said, कि आपको कहाँ जाना है? So I just looked at him and I was a bit wary, obviously. And after some time I said, see, I actually have to go to South Delhi, and but I don't know how to reach there. So he said that, why don't you come along with me? I'll drop you there. I'm also going to South Delhi. So I don't know for what reason, I trusted that person, went along with him. He first went to Delhi University area because he wanted to meet someone whose father had passed away. And this was like this heavily wooded area, completely dark, because that was the professor's quarters. And I was like, well, where has this guy got me? But he went inside, and when he stepped out of the house, there was an elderly lady with him and a guy. This guy must have been like in his 30s at that time. And so the elderly lady told me that, beta, ghabrana nahi, don't worry. Uh, you can, he'll if he says he's going to take you home, he's going to take you. So he dropped me at my place, and then he went back. He had to kind of take a U-turn and go back, several kilometers back to his house. But he made sure that I reached my place. So that was an angel, like, an angel for me at the time. And second time was on the day of my accident. All right, pain, terrible pain, my leg crushed, lying under the bus, and then steps in this guy and he says, "Madam, do you have anyone here? Do you have in Delhi your family or someone whom I can, call up and inform?" I said, no, I don't have anyone here. I stay alone, but I will. Then I threw my purse at him. I was lying underneath the bus at that time, so I threw my purse at him, and I told him that my phone is inside. Why don't you, I'll help you through, my contact list to get my brother's number and just inform my brother. But my phone was crushed, so it was not working. Then he got my office ID card. He got my office ID card. From there, he got my office number. He called up the office, he informed, and by the time the ambulance has come and they picked me up, they took me to the hospital. This guy was on a scooter. He had seen this entire accident happen, and he followed the ambulance. He followed the ambulance all the way to the hospital. He ensured that doctors were there, and I was given treatment. And then my entire office staff, from my boss to the chaprasi and everyone, they turned up to the hospital. And it was only then that he left. And later on, I got to know that this guy was actually on his way to appear for a job interview. He saw my accident happen. He stayed back there. He called up the place where he was supposed to appear for his interview. And he informed them that, there's this girl who has met with this accident. I cannot leave her. So can you, postpone the time, delay the time for my interview? And they agreed. He followed the ambulance. He stood there till my office people came. Then he went, appeared for the job interview, again returned after the interview. And he said, I just wanted to know that she was okay. I don't know his name.
Wow.
I don't remember his face. He was an angel for me. Like we come across such angels. I mean, what more do you want? Like in the toughest, darkest periods of my life, I found these two people. What's there to be depressed about? What's there not to be positive about? And I, since then, I said, pay it forward. I mean, I want to be of help just the way these guys had come out of nowhere and helped. I've always tried to help whatever way I can, uh, whatever way, small way, big
Amazing.
way. So these things have kept me positive. I mean, there is nothing to be negative about. Because at the end of the day, these are the memories that stay with you rather than whatever failures that could be, rather than whatever fights that you have got into. They don't really build the experiences of your life. They don't build your character. These are the things that build your character and really help you move forward in it. So that's why I'm very
So,
optimistic. And that's why I'm so positive.
Baito, listening to you, I'm so inspired, and then you tell me about this wonderful story of yours, and you had this accident, and you're saying, "Nahi, nahi, chalo, aage padhte hain." This whole thing is so, it's giving me so much of strength, seriously, and I'm sure all
Yes,
those people who are watching you right now, they're going to be seriously inspired. I am
hope
sure
so.
of that. This is you don't even have to hope. I'm sure this video is going to be so amazing. I knew that this conversation with you would be so intense and so passionate. I knew it would be a wonderful evening. And on this as we come to the end, I love this part about your profile where you say love life, you love your job, and you have tremendous faith in God, and you believe that you were born with internal shock absorbers. How good is that? And optimism is my middle name. So it is Shanta Optimism
Optimism.
Saikia.
Yes,
Such a wonderful name. So, Shanta Baido, it has been so wonderful talking to you. I am totally, totally inspired. This entire conversation, starting with your media work, and then we go on to you motivating us. We need this motivation so much that to go ahead, forget about everything and just go ahead. When I had my accident in November, I did not look back also. I said, no, I need to get ahead. Doctors were saying you will have to take rest for 1 year. You cannot walk. You will lose your mental dimension and everything. I said, no, nothing doing. I am going to go forward. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to start walking on my own. Because the first time I remember, I could not even walk. But then I have walked this far. So,
that is amazing.
Shantabai, your program with me today, your conversation with me was absolutely amazing. You have
My
spent
pleasure.
so much time, you've given so much time and so much precious time and such precious words from you. We
My
are
pleasure.
totally, totally enamored. We are privileged. We are honored that Shanta Optimism
Optimism.
Saikia was with us today. And thank you for your time, Baido. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
I,
much. My pleasure. My pleasure. And sayonara, namaskar, and
thank
God bless.
you.
Stay safe. Stay safe, everyone. Stay safe.
Keep blessing us. We need your blessings all the time. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
always there. My best
Okay.
wishes always.
Good night.
Take
Good
care.
night.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Good night. Good night. Take care.
Bye.